Councilman Henry,
Here.
Mayor Shelton,
Here.
Vice Mayor Epps, Councilman Walker.
At this time, I'd like to invite those that wish to do so to stand for the invocation given tonight by Pastor Jeremy Williams of Trinity Assembly, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States flag.
Father, we just thank you tonight for this time. We just ask that as we begin this meeting, God, that we would hold true to the Scripture that has guided our country for so many years, God, that we would trust in the Lord with all of our heart and lean not into our own understanding, but in all our ways we would acknowledge you, because it says you'll make our path straight. And so I just ask that tonight, as business is brought before this council, that God, they would consider it with wisdom, they would consider it with your word at hand and the best interest of this city at heart, God. And I just ask that, God, we would do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but God, in humility, we would value others above ourselves and not looking to our own interest, but to the interest of others. And so my prayer, Father, is for the city of Cookeville, that as business is taken care of, that, God, we do it with a pure heart. We do it with pure motives. And I just ask that as this council makes decisions based on their knowledge and their wisdom, God, that you would be the guide that helps them through this process. And I just ask for the city, God, for the city of Cookeville, that you would bless the city, continue to prosper. God, bring businesses into this city, that this city would prosper, the people of this city would prosper, that you would continue to bless Cookeville, you continue to bless the state of Tennessee. And we just thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3, consider approval of agenda as presented. We have one additional item. It would be item 7M, consider appointment of city manager. Do we have any other additions? No changes. Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Item 4A, consider appointment of city attorney for 2-year term. I will make a motion to appoint David W. Ledbetter as city judge and Joy Gothard as substitute city judge to serve due to illness, recusal, or other absence of the city judge for 2-year terms effective July 1, 2015. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Item 4B, consider appointment of city judge for a 2-year term. I will make a motion to appoint Daniel H. Rader III as city attorney for a 2-year term effective July 1, 2015, and to authorize Mr. Rader to enlist the assistance of other attorneys in his law firm, Moore, Rader, Clifton, Fitzpatrick, to serve as assistant city attorneys on an as-needed basis with the approval of the city manager. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Item 6 on the consent agenda, set of dates, which will be July 2nd of 2015 for a public hearing on ordinance 0150617, rezoning 750 Whitson Avenue from RS15 single-family residential to PRD planned residential development, and set a date 7/2/15 for a public hearing on ordinance 0150618, amendment to zoning code section 208A4 architectural design standards to insert provisions in section 208A4B relating to screening for additions utilizing prohibited materials. That will be July 2nd of 2015. Mr. Mills has one announcement pertaining to 6A.
Yes, Mayor, council members, due to the concerns and questions we've had from residents regarding item 6A, I'd like to announce that we're going to have a informational meeting on June 15th, Monday, June 15th at 5 p.m. here in the council chambers. And the purpose of this meeting will be to provide information and answer questions relative to the PRD Planned Residential Development District and the proposed development of the property at 750 Woodson Avenue as PRD.
Thank you, sir. Old business, consider approval of minutes of council meeting held on May 21, 2015. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
New business. 7A, consider resolution R150609 to acquire the necessary rights of ways and easements for the construction of the Bennett Road Extension Project. Melinda Kiefer.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. On January 16, 2014, the Council authorized the City Manager to acquire property by negotiation or eminent domain pursuant to the Bennett Road Expansion Project. Tonight, we have provided you with a list of those tracks and a map locating those tracks. So tonight's action is just getting it more specific to the project itself, and putting the tracks exactly in there as they will present themselves. There are 39 tracks involved with the project. We are currently in the right-of-way acquisition phase on both of the projects. Interchange to Buffalo Valley and then Buffalo Valley to Highway 70. Request your approval.
Very good. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you.
7B, consider Resolution R150608 to establish mandatory retirement age requirement of age 60 pursuant to TCA 8-36-205 to authorize the payment of the supplemental bridge benefit pursuant to TCA 8-36-211 and to authorize Group 1 members with credible service in Group 1 position covered by such mandatory age retirement to retire on service retirement benefits upon attainment of age 55 with 25 years of credible service. Sponsor Mike Davidson.
Mayor and council members, based on information and conversations we've had at budget work session and based on, I think, the desire of the police and fire departments as well, I'll present this resolution that would create a mandatory retirement age for our police and fire department. We have that on the books already. We currently require those police and fire personnel to retire at age 62. We do participate in the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System, and that system does provide that we can lower that retirement age to age 60, and this resolution would do that. It would change it from 62 to 60. It would create that a public safety employee, a fire or policeman, would be eligible to retire at age 55 with 25 years of service. And based on the structure of the law and what's in the provisions for this, there would be no reduction in their base retirement benefit at age 55 with 25 years of service. James? Thank you. In addition, the resolution authorizes what's called a supplemental bridge benefit until age 62. And because we would require employees to retire at age 60, there's a bridge or a supplemental benefit that would be paid to these employees until they reach age 62, which is when they would be first eligible for a Social Security benefit. That supplemental benefit is 0.75% per year of service up to a maximum of 22.5% of their average final compensation. The resolution would exempt the police chief and the fire chief from the mandatory retirement, but there would be no other certified officer or firefighter position that would be exempt. If we pass this resolution, the city is responsible for all the costs associated with the supplemental benefit, and the way that's paid is through the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System. Our contribution rate on our salaries would be increased by 3.5%. And that would be paid again by the city. James, if you would. So the resolution would be effective July 1. There would be a deferral date of October 1. That would give us a few months before any employees would be required to retire. We do have a few that are already age 60. And then based in October, they would be required to retire. There would be 2 additional employees required to retire later during the fiscal year. I've looked just to see if there's any other employees, and I think there's probably 5 other employees that I know are 55 with at least 25 years of experience. I think they will at least look at this. Again, that 3.5% increase in our contribution rate to TCRS, that's just on the police and fire salaries. And the estimated cost for that this fiscal year is $250,000. That's $250,000 to the city. The public safety positions, this resolution is structured so that the public safety employees, fire and policemen, would not receive a merit increase during the fiscal year as a way to help to buy in and pay for the initial expense for this bridge bill. Again, they are supportive. It's my understanding. I know the chiefs have talked to their departments. They seem supportive of the foregoing the merit increase in 15-16. And again, that's roughly $180,000 in savings, so to speak, to help offset the cost of this. But that ultimately is a summary of the resolution, and again, creates a mandatory retirement age at 60, provides a supplemental benefit, and no reduction in base retirement benefits for anyone that's 55 or 25 years of service. But I would recommend approval.
Do we have a motion?
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion among the council?
Mayor, can I
Yes.
ask a few comments?
Can.
This will be brief. I believe fire and policemen are a special kind of people. They have chosen an occupation that is both stressful and dangerous. Where I would run from a burning building, they run in. And when there are people on drugs, violent behavior, dangerous to themselves and to the public, police are there to control the situation. I think I heard it best when Lieutenant Mike Smith was talking to some school children to tell them that when they heard a siren, not to be afraid, but that help was on the way. We have some of the best fire and policemen, and I believe with the bridge bill, this will help with the retention and the recruitment. It will help get the best people to serve these departments and protect the citizens of Cookeville. Also, I think this shows that we care about them. I believe it is a morale booster. While I don't have a siren, I believe help is on the way.
Good job. Do this thing.
Very good. All vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
7C, hold a public hearing and consider on first reading ordinance 0150613, amending the budgets of the general, State Street Aid, solid waste, economic development, quality of life, general improvement bond, and employee insurance funds of the city of Cookeville for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2015. Brenda Imel.
Mayor and council members, this ordinance will amend the current year, fiscal year 15 budget for 7 of our funds. The first one, the general fund, we are asking to increase the budget amount for revenues by $254,484. That is comprised of property taxes, current and delinquent, $65,000 and $20,000. Local sales tax, $100,000. And GHSO is the police department, governor's highway safety office grant revenues that we received. On the property taxes, the tax aggregate actually came in a little bit more than we had originally estimated when we did the budget. And the collections are actually out. And local sales tax, we had budgeted about a 2% increase in the original budget, and we're hoping to finish up the year closer to 5%. And then on the expenditure side in that fund, we're asking to increase the budget amount by $214,484. And if you look, the first 8 items on there have to do with payroll, and that's payroll for each one of the general departments, and it totals $120,000. And that is to cover a 27th pay period that we're going to roll into this fiscal year. And then also down there, Public Works Department's claim and damages, $25,000. And then the GHSO, the Police Department grant expenditures to offset the revenues there, $69,484. Capital expenses, $44,000 for the general department, and that was the emergency purchase we had to do of a boiler for City Hall. And then Public Works capital, we had purchased a backhoe and it came in a little bit over what we had originally budgeted for it, so that's for $1,000. And then the fire department capital, we're reducing it by $45,000, and we had budgeted that as a proposed grant match. They had applied for a grant to get a new fire truck, and that was not approved. And you'll see a little later that we have rolled that money into this new fiscal year coming up. So that pretty much is the general fund. We're estimating to finish the year with a closing fund balance of about $10,285,000. Other budget amendments, State Street Aid. We're looking to increase revenue by $105,096. And that has to do with the T-Dot large grant that we had in the previous fiscal year, and it was used for street paving. And we didn't get quite all wrapped up in fiscal year 14, so this is to cover a little bit that got carried over into fiscal year 15. And down in expenditures, you'll see the T-Dot grant expenditures related to that too. And it's a little bit higher than the revenues because there was a 20% match with that grant. Insurance premium, $1,651. We did add traffic signals to our insurance policy a couple months ago. And brush grinding services, $22,500, and that relates to some storm damage that we had this winter. So total expenditures in the state street aid, we're asking to increase $155,522. And we're estimating an ending fund balance in state street aid of about $742,968. The next fund, solid waste fund, we're requesting an increase in budgeted revenues of $50,700, and that's the various different categories of revenue there. $15,000 for commercial collection fees, tipping fees $14,500, pickup roll-up collections $6,500, sell dumpsters $8,000, sell scrap $6,700. Expenditure side, we're asking for an increase of $75,600 in the budget amount there. And we had some significant repairs and maintenance and some garbage trucks that brought us in over budget. We're looking for $26,000 there. And then the next three lines are salaries and wages for our sanitation, solid waste employees, and again, that relates to the 27th payroll that we're going to pick up in this year. And then landfill services is an increase of $8,000, and that relates to the tipping fees. So, and we're looking for solid waste to end with an estimated fund balance of $388,812. The next fund, economic development fund, we're looking to increase expenditures there at $67,794. Professional services, $13,500, and that relates to the contract that you recently approved with Retail Strategies. Legal services, $11,500. That was some legal services related to Project Uno and Victor that we had going on this past year that we didn't really budget, not knowing what we would need there. So, and the last one, land right away easements, $42,794. That has to do with the SIA project and the Bennett Road deal that we're doing with the state. We had to write them a check, deposit, and the actual amount that they required was a little bit more than we had estimated back when we did the original budget. So, the Economic Development Fund, we're estimating a fund balance at the end of this year of $573,000. Quality of Life Fund, we're requesting an increase in budget for expenditures of $5,000 there, and that's for a nonprofit contribution to Cityscape to help with the 4th of July sponsorship event that we're having. Quality of Life Fund, we're estimating a fund balance at the end of the year there of $466,000. And the next fund, the General Improvement Bond Fund, is where we account for all of our projects financed with debt issues. And these two items on here, the animal shelter and the CPAC roof renovations, were actually projects, again, from fiscal year 2014, and were financed with the previous bond issue that we did. And we just didn't get everything, all the progress done in fiscal year 14 that we had budgeted, so a lot more ran into fiscal year 15. So, but those projects are done and 100% completed now. So those were just basically timing issues, and this is to get the budget in line with what the way the actual project went out. So the increase in budgeted expenditures there is $472,000. And then the last fund, the Employee Insurance Fund, we're requesting an increase there in health claims of $575,000. Our health claims are running a lot more than what we had projected in the original budget. So we're projecting claims this year about $4,240,000, and we had only budgeted $3.6 million. So we're estimating for fiscal year 2015 to finish with a decrease of fund balance of $380,000 in that fund, and ending the year with an estimated fund balance of $3,031,000. So that's all the funds, and I request your approval unless you have any questions.
Thank you very much. At this time, this will open the public hearing portion of the meeting pertaining to this agenda item. Is there any comments from the public? That will close the public hearing portion on this agenda item. The council will discuss and vote on the business portion of the item. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any discussion among the council? Seeing none, all vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
7D, hold a public hearing, consider on first reading ordinance 0150614, providing a tax levy for the 2015-2016 fiscal year. Mr. Davidson.
Mayor and council members, As you mentioned, this will establish the tax rate for fiscal year 2016. This is the 2015 property tax rate. There is no tax increase. I'm happy to recommend that. The recommended tax rate would be 90 cents. That's broken down with 79 cents to the general fund, 6 cents to the debt service fund, 4 cents to economic development, and 1 penny would go to the quality of life fund. The total estimated property tax revenue for all those funds is $6,606,000. Roughly 1 penny on the tax rate. We have that estimated to be $73,404. Again, no tax increase, and I recommend approval.
Very good. Again, this will open the public hearing portion of the meeting pertaining to this agenda item. Is there any comments from the public? Seeing none, that will close the public hearing portion of the agenda item. Now the council will discuss and vote on the business portion. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
7E, hold a public hearing, consider on first reading ordinance O-150615, authorizing appropriations for financial aid to public service, nonprofit, and charitable organizations for the 2015-2016 fiscal year. Mr. Davidson.
Mayor and council members, if you'll bear with me, I'm going to just run through these recommended appropriation amounts for the nonprofits. So starting with $325,000 for the Putnam County Library, recommend $47,530 to the Cookeville Senior Citizens Center, $28,000 to the Upper Cumberland Regional Airport, $130,000 be appropriated to the Putnam County Chamber of Commerce, with $50,000 of that designated for the Highlands Initiative, as well as $50,000 designated for Sports Council. $25,400 for the Emergency Management Agency, $32,417 to Cityscape, with $15,306 of that designated for the Cookeville Fall Fun Fest, $18,608 for the Cookeville Arts Council, $1,900 for Cumberland Arts Society, $53,589 for the Tennessee Rehabilitation Center, $9,000 for Cookeville Putnam County Clean Commission, $11,407 to the Genesis House, $11,407 to Helping Hands of Putnam County, $10,000 to WCTE, $2,377 to the H.J. Stevens Center for Child Abuse, and $6,000 appropriated for Kids Putnam, $10,000 to the Putnam County Imagination Library Program, $1,901 to the Upper Cumberland Human Resource Agency to be used exclusively for their Meals on Wheels program, $7,500 for the 13th Judicial District Adult Drug Court, and $1,500 to the Upper Cumberland Human Resource Agency, their court-appointed Special Advocates Program, $1,500 to the Cookeville Children's Museum, $4,000 to the Upper Cumberland Child Advocacy Center, $9,025 to the Tennessee Central Heritage Rail Trail, and $6,000 to the Putnam County Veterans Organization, and $2,000 for the Veterans Honor Guard. A total allocation appropriation to nonprofits and other governmental agencies, $740,811. As we discussed in budget work session, there were additional requests that have not been approved. There were requests for increases in these amounts from other agencies we funded in the past, but we have held those basically the same. Again, the same as in what was appropriated in 14-15 fiscal year. But again, $740,811 is the total recommendation for these nonprofits and other government entities. Recommend approval.
Very good. At this time, we'll open the public hearing portion of the meeting pertaining to this agenda item. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this? Yes, ma'am. Come to the lectern. A couple of points of order. Please step to the podium, state your name and address. Statement of no more than 3 minutes may be made pertaining to this item. Once the timer sounds, you'll need to wrap up your comments within 10 seconds, please.
My name is Maxine Frazier, and I'm with the Cookeville Senior Center at 186 South Walnut Avenue. And I would just like you to really consider an increase for us of $22,000. I really would. We need that so badly. We'd requested that.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, that closes the public hearing portion of the meeting. We will now open the business portion. Do we have a motion to approve as presented?
So moved.
Motion. And do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion among the council? Seeing none, I'll vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
7F, hold a public hearing And consider on first reading ordinance O-150616, making appropriations for the various funds, departments, and agencies of the city of Cookeville, Tennessee for the 2015-2016 fiscal year. Mr. Davidson.
Mayor and council members, I have several slides. I'll go through them very quickly, and please stop me at any point to ask me any questions, and hopefully I'll be able to answer it. I have total revenue estimated at $25,391,493. As part of that revenue, we have $109,025 in transfers in from two other funds of the city, $100,000 from economic development and $9,025 from our quality of life fund. We have sales tax projected for 2016 at $11,913,000. I'm projecting that at 2.75% growth over fiscal year 2015. In 2015, we have that estimated coming in right now at $11,594,000. We have in lieu payments from electric budgeted at $1,165,000, water at $280,000, and gas system at $167,000. We've got estimated for wholesale beer tax $1,125,000, business tax at $1,111,000, and our wholesale liquor tax at $325,000. You can see from this pie chart that the majority of our revenue is local sales tax, that's 47%, property tax is 24%, I believe, in lieu tax payments 7%. You can see the breakdown of the various revenue items for the general fund. And again, total estimated revenue $25,282,000 with another $109,025 in transfers in from those other two funds that I mentioned. So we take that revenue and we look at how do we appropriate it for the various departments. We have a total appropriation for operating expenditures of $24,032,000. Nonprofits, which you voted on just a minute ago, $740,811. We have some transfers out of the general fund to other funds, $80,000 to animal control fund and $3,000 to the tree board fund. Inside of the budget, we have $891,734 in capital, broken down by the general department, $45,000. That $45,000 is $30,000 to make some improvements to the roof here at City Hall, and $15,000 for new software for accounting, finance, and tax department. Police department, $186,000 in capital, which is primarily patrol cars. $75,000 for the fire department, which is a $45,000 for the same grant that they've applied for last year. It'd be $45,000 in matching funds should they be awarded the pumper truck that they have submitted a grant for. Public Works, $221,000. Leisure Services, $99,384. Parks Maintenance, which is primarily $191,600, which is primarily improvements entirely at the Senior Citizen Center. Codes Department, $51,250, and Planning, $22,500. A total budget of $25,748,000 for the general fund. That is a budgeted deficit of $356,852. As Brenda pointed out earlier, we're expecting to end the year with a $10.2 million fund balance. So if we did spend down into that fund balance $356,000, we'd still have close to a $10 million fund balance. That deficit is primarily made up of the $30,000 some non-recurring expenses, which is the roof. Hopefully that $30,000 will extend the useful life of the City Hall roof for several more years. $170,000 at the Senior Citizen Center roof, which is the flat roof there, as well as the shingle roof, replacing those would be brand new. And then we have improvements on Ridgedale Drive to take a curb out across the railroad tracks on Ridgedale Drive, and that's estimated to be $171,000. We do have in this budget one new certified police officer position. It does fund, as we mentioned earlier, the resolution for the mandatory retirement and the supplemental bridge bill or bridge benefit. It does fund that, the additional costs related to that 3.5% increase in the TCRS contribution rate. It does fund up to a 3% merit increase for city employees. Those increases are based on their evaluations. It's a merit-based pay increase. As mentioned earlier, as part of the resolution for the bridge bill, there would be no merit increases for police or fire positions. It does have a $6,000 increase budgeted for the animal control fund, And last year was $74,000. It would be an $80,000 transfer to the Animal Control Fund. Again, $371,000 worth of roofs and/or road realignment. And just kind of breaking things down quickly within the general government, $3,026,085 for operating, and then in $45,000 for capital in the general government. Again, I'm not, just to speed things up, unless you want me to go into all the detail, it's a $24,773,611 operating budget for the general fund, $891,734 in capital, $80,000 transfer to the animal control fund, $3,000 transfer to the tree board fund. Again, a $25,748,345 budget. And James, unless council has questions, I'm just going to ask you to fast forward till we get to our next fund. Keep going.
Best I can.
State Street Aid, that's the next one right there. Thank you. Estimated start the beginning of the year from State Street Aid with a $742,000 fund balance. We have estimated revenue at $1,770,000 with estimated expenditures of $1,898,000. The majority of those expenditures, a big part of it, $1,161,000 is capital, which is related to hopefully a sidewalk grant that we have applied for, and hopefully that will be funded, and we hope to hear from that in the next week or two, we hope. It also appropriates $600,000 for resurfacing and paving, so a $1,898,900 appropriation for State Street Aid Fund. The next fund is our solid waste fund. It's projected to begin the year with $388,000 fund balance with revenue estimated to be $1,499,000. We have estimated expenditures of $1,531,555. Looking to spend into that fund balance $32,555. As I pointed out in the council work sessions, this is a fund that we will be looking at making some changes, whether that is to our commercial sanitation rates and/or trying to establish potentially a residential service fee. But again, this fund we spent into fund balance the last 2 years. We've not been able to purchase capital equipment trucks, and repairs and maintenance on those trucks just keeps climbing. So we're going to be bringing to you later in the year an ordinance to look at rates in this fund. But again, for this initial budget, $1,531,000 budget. Tree board fund looks like we'll have a beginning fund balance estimated to be $11,000. We have transfers in of $3,000 with the $280 in just miscellaneous revenue. So total revenue, tree board fund, $3,280 with projected expenditures of $2,800 in the tree board fund. And our drug fund, primarily supported by confiscated items and monies and things by the police department that's eventually awarded to the department by the courts. We have an estimated fund balance of $24,000 to start the year. Estimated revenue of $80,500, and those are some cases that we believe will be adjudicated and funds awarded to the police department with estimated expenditures of $74,000. Some of those items are a $21,000 license plate reader that would be installed in a patrol car. Various training for officers, $6,000. Some improvements at our firing range of $20,000 to help with noise there, or try to abate some noise. Drug investigations, $12,000, and various items, tents, radios, and the NICE equipment, which is not just nice. Stands for something, and the chief would have to help us with that. But $14,700 for those items. And again, a $74,000 appropriations for the drug fund. The animal control fund, beginning fund balance projected at $169,000 with revenue projected to be $253,000 and expenditures estimated at $266,000. I am recommending and asking to be able to add one position at the animal control facility, and that position will be titled volunteer coordinator. We have, since the new shelter is open, it's amazing at the number of volunteers that we have serving down there. We have averaged over 1,000 volunteer hours per month, and we just don't have anyone who can manage that resource for us. So I have funds budgeted to add a new staff position down there as well. So again, $266,378 in the Animal Control Fund. In our Economic Development Fund, we've estimated a beginning fund balance of $573 with estimated revenue at $390,000, estimated expenditures at $554,000. We do have for retail development estimated, and we have a median mowing contract for to keep the median in the business park mowed and cleaned and picked up, and those totals for the fiscal year is $47,150. We have $100,000 that would be transferred to the general fund, and that again, that $100,000 is to support the Highlands Initiative as well as the Sports Council. $410,000, and again, this is kind of a timing issue. At what point will we have some final expenses on the business park, and will it get paid by June 30th of this year, or will some of it roll into next year? So I budgeted some money next year just in case it rolls over into next fiscal year. And then our TVA Invest Prep grant for the Highlands Business Park, we have estimated expenditures of $97,583, and again, the total budget $554,733, an additional $100,000 being transferred to the general fund, as I mentioned. The Quality of Life Fund, estimated fund balance starting the year $466, estimated revenue $1,960,000, estimated expenditures $2,155,000, transfer out $9,025. The majority of the $2,155,000 in expenditures is budgeted. $2,030,000 of that is their estimate for the cost to construct the rail trail from the depot, Cookeville Depot, to the Allgood ball fields. Construction on that is hopefully going to start toward the end of June. So it's been a lengthy process to get to here, but we are about to break ground on the rail trail project. It does estimate or request an appropriation of $50,000 for what I've titled Christmas in the Park, and that's $50,000. We've estimated $70,000 in cost to help prepare the part of the city playground inside the park, and that's budgeted in the Quality of Life Fund. Again, that's $70,000 estimate, and $5,000 hopefully for a 4th of July celebration next 4th of July, a year from now. So I'm just going to say that's $2,155,000 operating budget, $9,000 transfer out to help support the rail trail project. James, sorry. Capital Improvement Project Fund, just to kind of give you a summary where we're at. We in 2013, the city issued debt, $4.3 million. We did the Public Works facility renovations at $1.4 million of that debt issue. The CPAC fly system, $100,000, a little over $100,000. The animal shelter, we used $1.4 million of that debt issue to construct the animal shelter. Improvements to the roof at CPAC, $266,000. And we have some improvements at Dogwood Park, and the arbor was one of those. We've completed that. The barriers for different events around the park, that's $9,977. We have three other items that will be completed this fiscal year. That's the dressing room, pavilion dressing rooms. The maintenance department has started the construction of that. That's estimated at $85,000. Fencing around Dogwood Park is estimated at $75,000, and a bridge across the creek in Dogwood Park, we have that budget at $75,000. And then, as part of those bond issues as well, we had the design for Bennett Road North, $743,000. And I just want to share that with you, just give you an idea of what we have done with the $4.3 million borrowed back in 2013 and the plans for it. For 2016, fiscal year 2016, we're looking at issuing debt somewhere a little over $10 million, $10.3 million. Have estimated expenditures of $14,318,700, so we'll be looking at borrowing debt. We have a couple of grants from the state of Tennessee, and everything related to this the bond issue that I'll be bringing to you sometime later this summer is all related to Bennett Road North, and we have that estimated at $9.8 million, and that includes right-of-way acquisition, construction, construction, engineering, inspection, everything we can think of right now related to the extension of Bennett Road North. And in addition to that, $500,000, and this is an estimate on my part, but assuming we're going to move forward with the new police station, we'll have design fees, and I have that estimated in this next bond issue. So again, $14 million budget for the General Improvement Bond Fund. Just looking ahead, another year out, have funds budgeted for the actual construction of a police station and other various projects that we have talked about over the last several years. And we've talked about these at work session, but again, just to give you an idea so you can see that we still have these items on the horizon, and the police station would be the next closest item that we'd issue debt for. And then if we issue debt, we have to be able to pay for it. We do that through a debt service fund. It has a projected fund balance starting the year of a little over $9 million. We have estimated revenue into that fund of $3.3 million, with estimated expenditures for existing debt and variable rate loans that we have of $3.2 million. We're looking at actually adding the fund balance $88,000. We think we'll have somewhere a little over $9 million, $9.1 million fund balance next year. Currently on the books, this is the existing debt the city has on the books. After we issued the debt during fiscal year 14, in December of 13, which is fiscal year 14, we were just under $17.5 million in general obligation debt. So that just shows you how that debt is reduced over years without adding additional debt. I have another slide just to show you. If we borrow money for Bennett Road North, and that's the item in the light green, that's that $10 million for Bennett Road. You can see we jump up to close to $25 million in debt. And if we look at issuing debt to actually construct a police station sometime in 16-17 to begin that process, we'd jump up to somewhere around $30 million in debt. Then that leaves us another $8.7 million in debt capacity. If we just wanted, if for whatever reason we needed to issue all the debt capacity we have, we could at some point in fiscal year 18-19 be up to around $36 million in debt. One goal we have, the line you see on there is our cash, the fund, the reserves for the debt service fund, and since we have variable rate debt, the goal there is not to let our cash reserves fall below $1.5 million until we get the variable rate debt off the books. And our variable rate debt for the last several years has been below 1%. So we've been very fortunate for the last 6 to 8 years, really, that it's been below 1%. These are our debt service payments over the years, just kind of matching up if we borrowed the debt that I mentioned, issued the debt that I mentioned earlier. You can just kind of see how the debt payments work out. And at some point in fiscal year 18, should we issue all the debt capacity the city currently has today, would be somewhere around a little over $4.5 million a year in debt payments that we would be making per year. So. Water Quality Control Department has estimated cash reserves of $10.7 million. We have estimated revenue of $14.2 million, with estimated expenses and transfers in that fund of $18,338,000. So looking at spending into fund balance about $1.4 million, almost $1.5. That is planned for the various projects that the Water Department has. Again, $18,338,000 in expenditures for the Water Department. Our Electric Department has cash reserves of $12.1 million. They have another $1 million set aside for debt payments. $56,532,000 in revenue that's estimated for the Electric Department, with estimated expenditures of $60,525,000. Looking again at spending into their fund reserves of $1.2 million, leaving them with still almost $11 million reserves. And our Gas Department has almost $13 million in reserves. Estimated revenue $11.2 million, with estimated expenditures of $11,619,000. When you factor in the provision for depreciation, the non-cash item, we're looking at adding to reserves $336,000. So they would have reserves at the end of the year, $13.3 million. And then our Customer Service Department is funded by the utilities, electric, gas, water, sanitation. So it's basically, it has no fund balance. It's just expenses each year are reimbursed by the electric, gas, water, sanitation department. Total estimated expenditure is $1,237,000. Employee insurance fund, during the budget work session, I mentioned two funds that we needed to take a closer look at. This is one of them. In addition to the sanitation fund, the employee health insurance fund is the other one. We've got a $3 million fund balance. We have estimated revenue into that fund, which is primarily premiums paid into the fund by the city of Cookeville as well as their employees. Those are estimated at $4,488,000. We have estimated expenditures at $5,086,000, looking potentially, it's really a guess based on the claims. Spending into that fund balance close to $600,000. We would end the year with a $2.4 million fund balance if this budget were to hit this way with these projected claims. Again, we will look at, as I mentioned, our insurance committee getting together and coming up with some recommendations for hopefully a sustainable health plan that we can bring back to you at a later date. And this is just to give you an idea of what our claims have been over going back to 2004. And you can kind of see how they jump up, they kind of level off for a year or two, and then they spike. And again, this year we have a significant increase, and that's why we're looking at the spending the fund balance. Go ahead, James. Thank you. Our workers' comp liability fund has estimated fund balance $770,000. Have revenue estimated at $550,000 with expenditures estimated at $550,000. It's pretty much any claims we have, we pretty much reimburse those by the various fund that had the claims. So it's almost like an internal service fund, which breaks even pretty much throughout the year. And our last fund, so to speak, is CRMC, Cookeville Regional Medical Center, and they have an estimated budget of $291,488,000. And that's the last fund. I'll be happy to answer any questions, and I would recommend approval.
At this time, we'll open the public hearing portion of the meeting on this agenda item. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, that closes the public hearing portion. We'll open the business portion of the meeting. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion and a second.
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
I'd like to bring up one thing about the Senior Citizen Center that was addressed earlier. The city of Cookeville is spending $191,000 roughly.
Yes.
In addition to the $47,000 that we normally put in, and I think it was a consensus of the council that that was a lot of money to be putting in the senior citizens. I know the Senior Citizen Center is growing, and at some point we may need to be adding even more to it, but right now we're putting $191,000 of new money into revamping the Senior Citizen Center, and so we feel that the council feels that it's supporting it 100%. At least I'm speaking for myself, and I think for most of the other, all of the others, that we're supporting seniors and fixing the panels on the inside and the ceiling tiles and the roof and the stretch things that go in there. I think it'll make it a more attractive place to be.
Mayor, if I could, let me just say, as a board member there, Maxine, all of us really appreciate the great job you're doing. The senior citizenship growing, the population's growing, activity levels growing, membership is growing, and the $200,000 or $990, it's indicative of our support. And hopefully we can do some additional things like you requested in next year's budget. But as a board member, I really appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
I want to thank you for your leadership, and please keep up the good work.
Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
7G, consider authorizing the interim city manager to execute contract for stop-loss insurance coverage. Mike Davidson.
Mayor and council members, we are self-insured, been self-insured since 1998. We purchased stop-loss insurance coverage to help guard against those large claims. That insurance is $150,000 deductible per individual or per claim. And the expiring policy is with a company called Blue Re. It's a subsidiary of Blue Cross Blue Shield. The expiring policy is based on the top policy, whether it's a single coverage or a family coverage. The expiring premium is $20.07 for a single coverage and $51.13 for family. Based on our current enrollment, it's estimated with those premiums of $227,000 annual payment to Blue Re. The renewal is actually a savings, a reduction. It's $18.19 for a single contract, $44.73 for a family contract. You can see we have roughly 217 single contracts, 286 family contracts. The basis of coverage is 3612, which means anything incurred in the last 36 months and paid in the next 12 months would be covered by this policy. And based on the enrollment right now, that's an estimated $200,880 premium. It's paid monthly. It can be canceled at any time with a 30-day notice to Blue Cross Blue Shield. So as we move forward with potential recommendations for health plan going forward, we will be looking at that as well. But it's approximately on an annual basis a $26,858 savings, and I would recommend approval.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
7H, consider approval to authorize the interim city manager to execute an agreement to assign rail trail bid from Highways Incorporated to Rogers Group. Greg Brown.
Mayor and council, if you recall, we opened bids not too long ago, and Highways Incorporated was the low bidder, and we were awarded the bid. Since that time, portions of highways have been acquired by Rogers Group. Highways has requested the contract for the rails and trails to be assigned to Rogers Group. This agreement lays out that, and I would request your approval.
I'll make that in the form of a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Consider awarding bid for auctioneer services, sale of seized firearms from the police department. Chief Evans.
Mayor and council, it's come time to sell our seized and confiscated firearms. We solicited bids from auctioneer services. We did receive one bidder. As you can see there, they would receive 20% of the seller. And then also the 10% buyer premium paid by the buyer. Also included in this bid is the expenses for marketing and advertising. By state law, they're required to advertise 3 different editions in the local newspaper. So that cost covers their expenses there. We've got 58 firearms from the city of Cookeville and also 33 from the drug task force in the celebration.
Very good. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Consider bid of sale of CRMC property at West Broad, Chestnut Avenue, and West 3rd Street. Mr. Mills.
Mayor and council members, March of last year, the council, at the request of the medical center, approved the claim of surplus and offering to sell 3 parcels of property no longer needed by the medical center. The sale of the property was delayed due to some unresolved issues relative to easements. This issue was resolved and the properties were offered for sale by sealed bid in the Herald Citizen during the first week of April 2015. These are the 3 tracts that are offered for sale. Bids were open 10 a.m. Friday, April 17, 2015. Mr. Aaron Bernhardt of Bernhardt LLC was the only bidder on the properties. The bid was for $170,000 and included the removal of a dilapidated structure on contiguous property retained by the city. The bid was also included several contingencies. Mr. Paul Ford, CEO of the Medical Center, has indicated that the Medical Center values the property at $300,000. Do you have any questions on that?
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
To what? What is your motion?
Motion to reject bid.
We have a motion to reject. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion to reject and a second. Any discussion? So if you vote, voting affirmative will be to reject. Would be voting yes. All vote.
5 votes to reject.
Item K, consider approval of final payment on the Booger Swamp Pumping Station Rehab Project. Mr. Kelly.
Council, here seeking authorization to make final payments to Jake Turner Construction for completion of the Booger Swamp Pumping Station project. The city awarded the contract on April 3rd, 2014 in the amount of $289,000. Completion date was February 15th, 2015. They reached substantial completion on March 3rd, 2015, which put them 16 days beyond the contract completion date. Contract calls for $500 per day due to the city for every calendar day beyond the completion date, which would equal $8,000. The department only incurred $3,200 in extra expense due to this delay. Recommend the council to accept the $3,200 deducted by the contract on the final estimate. which would cover our expenses. This is the final contract cost at $285,000, and we recommend approval.
Very good. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
7L, consider approval of settlement agreement with TDEC on outstanding NPDES permit issue. Mr. Kelly.
Mayor and Council, I'm requesting City Council approve the settlement that we negotiated with the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation. Our department's in discussions with TDEC regarding certain provisions for our wastewater treatment plant's NPDES permit over the last 15 years. Approval of the settlement would resolve most of our objections with the permit, but leaving only a few issues to be resolved at a later date. Our treatment plant's discharge meets all water quality requirements and limits. We've performed multiple stream studies over the last 15 years that we believe indicates the plant's discharge is not having a negative impact upon the watershed. In the settlement, we've agreed to participate in the study of the Falling Water River watershed to assess the status of the water draining into the watershed. By participating in this comprehensive study with TDEC, we believe it will help clarify our data that we've collected over this last 15 years. Our department will continue ongoing sewer rehabilitation programs to minimize overflows and provide TDEC updates and plans on that progress. We're in the middle of optimization study at our wastewater treatment plant now, which we will continue through the rest of the year, and at the end of that study, provide TDEC with a copy. Process evaluating some of our older pump stations, which we do as part of our capital improvement program. For the settlement, we will compile that evaluation and maintenance procedures and provide TDEC a copy. I would recommend approval and be happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Do we have a motion?
Motion
So moved.
approved.
Motion and second. Any discussion?
Real quick, Mayor, if I can. Ronnie, I know 15 years ago when I was on the council, you were dealing with some of these same issues. And I just want to tell you how much I appreciate your persistence and your diligence and the stand you've taken. And I know a couple of those gray hairs you've got is over this. And I'm like you, the part of me wants to fight on with it. But if you tell me that this is best for the department and the customers, I'm gladly will glad to vote for it. But I appreciate all that you've done to get us a better deal than we probably could have gotten if we'd have thrown in the towel a number of years ago. Thank you.
Very good. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Item 7M, consider appointment of city manager. When we began this search process in February, we as a council were committed to a process to select the best person and the right fit for Cookeville's next city manager. We believe this endeavor to be one of the most important decisions likely made during our term of office. Under the direction of Pat Hardy and MTAS, a nationwide search produced 145 applicants that were narrowed to 10 finalists. The council narrowed that group down to 5, and teleconference interviews were conducted. 3 finalists were invited to Cookeville for a formal interview process over the past 2 days. Many ideas were brought forth, and much has been learned in this extensive search process. Through this process, it has been reaffirmed to us that we live in a great city, that we have a great team of employees, and that we are truly a blessed region. On behalf of my council members, we want to thank Pat Hardy and the team at MTAS, Gail Fowler and her HR team, as well as all the directors and staff for their diligence, equal commitment, and assistance to this very important process. At the very beginning of this process, we named Mike Davidson as interim city manager because we had a great deal of respect for him and confidence in his abilities. Because of his love for Cookeville, his conscientiousness, and his character, he too wanted what was best for our city and wanted this council to go through this process to find the best fit. He has consistently demonstrated his ability and leadership over the past 2 months that he is the right fit and will provide our city with a seamless transition and excellent management for the future. After careful and prayerful consideration, it is my pleasure and honor to end this process by making a motion to appoint our own Mike Davidson to be our next Cookeville City Manager, and that I, as mayor, be authorized to negotiate an agreement to that effect and bring the proposed agreement back to the council on June 18, 2015 for council approval. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion among the council.
If I could add quickly, Mayor, I'm glad we went through the process. We saw some very talented people, capable people, experienced people, but it solidified my thoughts that the best selection was right here in City Hall already, and I'm looking forward to working with Mike in that capacity.
I want to compliment what Dwight just said. You know, this was a process that we started several months ago. From the very get-go, I was a supporter of Mike, having experienced him in action up here for 4 years. I think the process that we went through magnified his ability and what he can do, and very proud that he has stepped up to this challenge. We have found the best, and it was here right amongst us to start with.
Very good.
I'd like to say a little something. I want to thank the employees of the city of Cookeville who've encouraged Mike to accept this challenge. And I think that's been helpful in resolving everything. And I'm really looking forward. I won't be here June 18th to vote on the final package, but I'm sure it'll be wonderful, and you have 100% of my support for this.
Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, one of the things that was really important to me was well, let me back up. I came in this with a little trepidation, but once we started the process, I felt very confident in what we were doing, mostly because we have such a great administration and employees here at the city of Cookeville. I knew we could probably hire anybody off the street, and with the leadership that you folks out there show, that we could have carried on and continue to be the great city that we are. However, we are at the cusp of some very, very big things. I would dare say that in about, if you're going to leave town for about 5 years and you come back, you may not recognize this place. We've got some really big things going on. I think, and I'm very pleased that Mike has chosen to continue as from the interim city manager now to city manager, because he provides us with a very seamless transition. And Mike, it's wonderful that you chose, and I thank you very much.
My comments were within my statement, and the only other thing I would say is I think there's a quote Ronald Reagan gave that I think is very appropriate. The greatest leader is not necessarily the one who does the greatest things. He's the one that gets the people to do the greatest things, and I think that's what we will find with Mike, and I'm very, very proud that he will be our next city manager. So at this time, we will all vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Mayor, could I
You sure can.
Ever since being named the interim city manager, everyone's been very supportive and encouraging. All of you have been more than supportive and encouraging, and as well as the staff that I work with and I've had the pleasure of working with for many, many years. But the last, I guess, 3 days through this process, and I've shared this with a lot of staff members, not only comments from you all, from the staff, fellow employees, but I have had so many comments from the community, phone calls, text messages, emails, just asking me to really think about it. And the reluctance has always been on my part, just wondering, am I truly, is this what I'm cut out to do? But I'm hoping, you said something this morning, Mayor, about, you know, sometimes you don't pick the time picks you, and I'm hoping that's true, and that Cookeville is my home, and I'm going to do everything I can to do the right thing for Cookeville. And I know my predecessor did that, and I see him here. He snuck in, and I have every intention, and because Cookeville is my home, I love Cookeville, and that I hope to carry that on in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll have the citizens' request for hearing before the city council. Would anyone like to speak to the council on any item not on the agenda? Very good. Any other comments from the, I know we've got you're going to something tonight. Would you like to say anything about it?
No.
He doesn't want anybody there.
No. Actually, I was telling them earlier, I'm a part of the play at the depot. I've got my conductor suit on, and I've got to put my cap on and play the conductor here at about 7 o'clock. I don't know if you have tickets for it or not. It's about Cookeville. It's about round trip. Cookeville goes to war. It's a neat little show. You'll enjoy it, and Beth Thompson is directing it. Sadly, if you don't have tickets already, you can't get them. I understand it's sold out all 3 nights. So apparently nobody knows I'm in it. That's why they're coming. But that's what I'm up to. And I appreciate the good job Beth and the crew is doing down there as a part of the Leisure Services effort. And I'll be scooting out pretty quick after this. Thank you, Mayor.
Very good. Well, we appreciate you being here, and we will stand adjourned.
Got you out in time.